This is The Toss-Up, where an expert-line panel dissects the hottest stories within the world of sports. From some of the nation's strongest college programs right here in Bloomington to the games and moments that capture the world's attention, it's all right here on The Toss-Up. As I sit here right now, the sun isn't shining bright, and I'm not in my old Kentucky home. But hey, that doesn't mean we can't celebrate Derby weekend right here on The Toss-Up. Of course, the Kentucky Derby is usually in the spring and not during Labor Day weekend, but Derby and Oaks were rescheduled in response to the coronavirus pandemic, so we rescheduled our Derby-themed episode. After Season 8 of The Toss-Up abruptly ended last March, we are back with just a few modifications. And what better way to start off Season 9 than with some of the best in the world of horse racing. And I have some of the best in the world of sports reporting right here alongside me. So let's just get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I am joined here by Jackson Kinney, Jordan Gould, my two Kentuckians, my two friends here at IUSTV Sports. And I'm so excited to finally get this Derby toss-up off and running.
Oh, yeah. You've been to the Derby, right?
I've seen it pretty much every year, but have actually never been to Churchill Downs.
I know you've been, and I've been, so it's a pretty special time for us because we're all from the Louisville area or from Louisville itself, you two. I'm a little further away, but it's a special weekend for us, you know?
It is, exactly. And while we're talking about what makes it so special, Jordan, I know Belmont was the first race of the Triple Crown, which that never happens. It's almost always the Derby. Mm-hmm. Plus this year, we don't get Thunder over Louisville. We don't get the Great Balloon Race, and frankly, we don't get fans. So do you think that this could knock out some of the spirit of, Derby weekend, Derby day that we normally get to experience?
Yeah, you know what? This is going to be this has been a weird year. There's not going to be fans, but there's going to be protesters right outside, honoring and kind of fighting for justice for Breonna Taylor, which is a big storyline. And I know there's been a lot of talks of as far as that leading up to this race, I guess, as far as civil rights and kind of tying it into sports. But as far as the race itself, yeah, it's going to be media members, I think, basically only in there. Jockeys had to be in Kentucky by Monday. If they were not there by then, they could not participate in the Kentucky Derby, which I think is very interesting. Joel Rosario, he was supposed to, who was he supposed to ride for? But Ricardo Santana is taking his place on, I'll have to check the horse here in a sec, but basically Ricardo Santana is racing up in New York, and because of the switch around, he was not able to ride on the horse. So it's just a weird year, this is, and it's never been the second leg of the Triple Crown, and who knows, we'll see if Tiz Allah can continue the momentum.
Yeah, exactly. And Jackson, I know that you've mentioned you've been to the Derby, and I believe you were planning on going last spring as well, or at least giving it a shot. So now, here we are, it's September, obviously we're in Bloomington, but do you think that the Labor Day weekend is going to shift a lot of the energy that was surrounding it, or are you just looking forward to it as much as ever?
It's weird because obviously with it being in the, I don't want to say wrong time of the year because it has to be now because of what was happening in the world at the time.
Right.
But just being now, it's so different that, in the spring I was thinking of going, like you said, and I was going to go to Thunder over Louisville, which, if you don't know, is one of the world's biggest fireworks shows. It's a great time. But, with it being now and there's not a month-long celebration leading up to it, the energy is kind of not there. I was talking about it with my parents the other day, where the energy just feels kind of weird around it, where some people are even forgetting that the Derby is this weekend.
Yeah, and I know, Jordan, you've been there fairly recently to Churchill Downs and to the Kentucky Derby itself. And, that place is packed with thousands of people, and you're squeezed in like sardines, and obviously we know why you can't do that now. But do you think that that's going to have an effect either on the atmosphere surrounding Derby or even just the race itself, not having thousands of screaming fans who can't move 2 feet from each other.
Yeah, most of them drunk and really just rooting for their horse to finish first. You know?
Exactly, or someone else's horse. You never know.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was Max Player was the name of the horse,
There you
by
go.
the way, for that Ricardo Santana's riding on. But yeah, I mean, as far as the energy, 170,000 people typically pack in to the Kentucky Derby and Churchill Downs every year. And this is going to be a weird Derby for sure, but you know, we've seen it in Major League Baseball, we've seen it in the NBA with the virtual fans. You know, how is that piped-in crowd noise going to work? You know, I don't know what they're doing necessarily. I haven't heard that they're doing anything like that for the Kentucky Derby. But typically, what the athletes will say is, I mean, yeah, it makes a difference, but once they're in between the lines, like court or you know, on the dirt, on the baseball diamond, whatever it may be, you know, they just focus on their sport. You know, and I think the same thing is going to play into effect here for the Derby. I mean, it's a quick 2 minutes, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, honestly, the lap around as they get to the gate, I mean, it's longer. You know, so the race itself, it's going to be like that. That's why they call it the fastest 2 minutes in sports. But you know, yeah, definitely it'll be weird seeing a Derby without fans in the crowds for sure.
But like, can you imagine being in the Churchill Downs infield during the middle of a pandemic?
Oh my gosh.
I don't even like being there when everything is fine.
Right.
It's
It's intense.
a crazy place.
Yeah.
I think the closest thing I can think of is the snake pit at the Indy 500, but everybody's in suits and sweaty.
Right.
I know. And the forecast, it always rains. Typically, I'd say 70% of the time
Yeah.
it rains. So the Saturday that it was canceled back in May, perfect weather, sunny as could be. And this Saturday, same thing, sunny as could be. So it's just like I don't know. It's like the heavens above are like,
Right.
like just
Mother Nature is just
crazy.
in stark opposition to the Derby.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned the race itself, and now getting into the race, obviously the big favorite is Tiz the Law. He won the Belmont Stakes and is now a heavy favorite to win the Kentucky Derby. Also went out and won Travers. So one of the unique things about the Derby is that it's the first race of the Triple Crown, and it's the first major exposure to a lot of these horses. Now we don't have that, and I'm wondering, Tiz the Law being such a favorite, is that because he's just clearly the best horse out there, no question? Or does it have to do with he already has one Triple Crown leg under his belt, and that's without having raced in the Derby?
Oh, he's the best horse, no question. It's going to be very difficult for anyone to beat Tiz the Law. The only thing that maybe, I don't know, I've seen a lot of stuff that he drew the 17 post position, and there's never been a Derby winner. It's the only post position that there's never been a winner from. But I mean, how much does that mean? I mean, fortunately, you don't want to be right on the inside, like the 1, 2, 3 positions. You get, I don't know, if I'm a horse or especially if I'm a jockey, I think it's easier to work on the outside. The only concern is on those turns. You don't want to get too wide. You kind of want to stay close to the pack. But
And you normally see it when they get released from the gates, they usually group up pretty quickly. But like you said, he's starting in the 17th post, and the other two favorites in the race are right on either side of him in the 16th and the 18th post position, which is an incredibly weird draw considering it's just never really happened before. All of the underdogs and such have the prime starting position.
Right.
And like, to go back to your original question, is Tiz the Law the favorite because he's simply the best horse or because he has a Triple Crown win already?
Right.
I think it's both. You come in, you were the favorite at Belmont. You were probably going to be the favorite in the spring anyway for the Derby. And then you go and win Belmont through all this weirdness. Then yeah, you're going to be the favorite no matter what, because I think, like Jordan said, he is the best horse, but he's facing a massive disadvantage with his starting gate.
Right. So you say he's the best horse and he's already proved himself, which further adds to the hype.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think it's interesting. Tiz the Law is the only horse in the field that has been able to prove and win at the 1.25 mile length that the Kentucky Derby is, 1.25 length.
Right.
No other horse has proven that they can run that length consistently. Now, there's great sprint horses like Money Moves, who I think is a really intriguing pick in the Derby. He's only got 3 races on his belt, but I think given the field, and it's been an interesting racing season where you've had horses like Nadal, who was really, I mean, he was going to be heavily favored, but he pulled out, I believe, back in June. He got hurt. That kind of ended his racing season, a Bob Baffert horse. So I don't know. I think all the cards have to kind of fold in the right kind of place for Tiz the Law, and they have. Art Collector, he was probably the second biggest favorite in the Kentucky Derby. He was rolled out earlier this week, and then King Guillermo with 20-1 odds, decent odds. he was out with the fever today. No idea what that is.
We were coming to set
Hopefully
to
not.
record this, and
Yeah.
King Guillermo was scratched.
Right.
So really
Devastating,
unfortunate
because
timing.
I could not wait to talk about him. Victor Martinez has ownership, Victoria's Ranch. That is his horse, and it's kind of crazy. He's been racing. He's got a pretty good horse in King Guillermo, but King Guillermo hasn't raced in 4 months. But I know he kind of still keeps up with Miguel Cabrera and Anibal Sanchez, and they still kind of talk to him. He's a cattle farmer. Like, I don't know if you guys knew that. Like, that's his second career from MLB. Probably future Hall of Famer to
My
cattle.
favorite is when athletes like that, just on the side, they're just incredibly like salt of the earth. Yeah, I was a Major League Baseball player, but I also have 100 cows at home.
I know.
You know.
Yeah. And we're seeing horse racing dip a lot more into the celebrity world as well, as we had Nadal, as you just mentioned, and I believe the year before was when Gronk raced.
Well, I mean, just celebrities in the Derby go together so well every year. It's Tom Brady's there. Shaq was there one year. Dale Jr. was there for NBC in NASCAR last year. Like, there's always a huge presence of athletes, celebrities. Millionaires Row is insane. There are politicians and diplomats that fly into Louisville every year.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of celebrities. But going back to the race, I know we've talked a lot about Tiz the Law and how insanely good of a horse that he is. But obviously nothing's a done deal, and anything can happen at the Derby. So if you're going to look at a horse that can really step up and challenge Tiz the Law for this year's Kentucky Derby, who do you think it is? Jackson, I'll start with you on this.
Well, I actually wanted to go to Jordan.
Oh, you wanna
because
hear
he's
Jordan's.
got.
All right.
I want to hear yours first.
Yeah, so you look at the field, and 16, 17, and 18, you have Honor AP, which has the second biggest odds at 5-1 right now. Tiz the Law at the 3-5 odds right now, the morning line favorite. No horse has had odds like that good since like 1988, I believe. So he is a wide favorite. And then you have Authentic on the far outside at 8-1 odds. Authentic is a sprinter's horse. So really, it depends. I mean, speed is important, right? You look at when they turn in the final stretch. I mean, that's huge. But sustained endurance is really big in horse racing, and a lot of that has to do with the pedigree, of the horse and where they kind of breed from. But it's going to be tough for anyone to beat Tiz the Law. But I would say Authentic. I'd give him a fair shot. I know NY Traffic has had some momentum going towards him lately. But Money Moves is kind of a sexy pick. I don't know. Match player as well.
That's where I was going to go with Money Moves. I was going to be mine because you mentioned him earlier about him being a good sprint horse, but sometimes sprint horses can shock in the Derby, and they can pretty much keep up with anybody for that full lap, They
can. I would say Max Player as well is interesting. Now, he's on the 2. He's coming out of gate 2, so he'll be pretty inside. But when you look at him head-to-head with Tiz the Law, he finished 3rd in the Travers Stake, 3rd in the Belmont. He's finished above the top, but Tiz the Law, of course, he's pulled away in every race. But Max Player has been there, and he's a good horse. But Honor AP will be interesting, and I give Mike Smith the credit there because he is the most experienced jockey in the field. I think he's 55 years old. If he wins, he'll be the oldest jockey to win a Kentucky Derby. So that would be a cool story. But yeah, I don't know. I think some of it has to do with the jockey, so I think Honor AP has a decent shot, like I was saying earlier. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
But here's the thing that I keep coming back to in almost everything this year specifically, 2020.
Yeah.
It's been a weird year.
It has.
So who's to say we don't get another 2008 Derby performance from a horse like Mind That Bird, who was an extreme long shot. Nobody was talking about them, and they just come up on the rail and win the race, and Tiz the Law is in the back of the field going, what happened?
Yeah, so then I'll ask you, there's a ton of long shots. I think part of it, Jordan, you mentioned, Max Player's gone up against Tiz the Law, but very few horses have raced against Tiz the Law that are in this Derby field. Hasn't been as large of an overlap in the Belmont that you usually see. So, of these long shots that Jackson mentioned, I'd say 30-1 odds, maybe further down into the 50s. If someone is going to just blow us away and surprise us for no reason at all other than just because, who do you think it is?
Yeah, you know what? I like Finnick the Fierce for some reason.
It's a great name.
He's 50-1 odds. And here's the thing. So you look at him against Tiz the Law. He actually finished in front of Tiz the Law when they were 2-year-olds. Of course, all the Kentucky Derby, all the colts are 3-year-olds. and it was in a race at Churchill Downs last year when they were both 2-year-olds. Finnick the Fierce beat him, but I think a lot has to go wrong for Tiz the Law on Saturday for him to really like falter.
And that's the thing with that is like for the hardest thing for the long shots is going to be, like you said, something will probably have to go wrong for Tiz the Law, but the conditions are going to be prime and just a dry track, sunny day. Like there's not much that can go wrong for Tiz the Law.
You know, the amazing thing about Finnick the Fierce, he's blind in his right eye. He had cataract surgery in it.
Wow.
So he's a one-eyed horse. It's pretty
Sounds
amazing.
like a country song.
One-eyed horse.
Yeah.
One-eyed horse.
That could be Lil Nas X's next big hit.
There we
Maybe.
go.
But you know, who knows? I mean, last year, yeah, I know it was a disqualification. Maximum Security crossed the finish line first.
Oh, God.
I watched that again today. I was refreshing. Oh my God, like, oh, I couldn't believe that happened. Country House, 65-1 odds, won last year.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot of returning faces. War of Will, who is the horse that Tyler Gaffalione, I believe his name is. He'll be back in the Derby riding this year. His horse was the one that Maximum Security kind of got in front of, slowed everyone down behind him in the field. But you know, this is going to be interesting. I like Finnick the Fierce. Going back to the question, 50-1 odds. We'll see. I mean, you know, last year, did Country House really win? I don't know. It's debatable, but
He got the purse.
who knows?
He got the purse. He got the roses. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
I know it's not supposed to rain, but I was told that Finnick the Fierce, he runs really well on a wet track, so that would be an advantage.
Okay.
But the weather is looking good, so I don't know. A lot of factors come into play to beat Tiz the Law.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is Finnick the Fierce is on the inside post?
He's in the
correct?
number
on the
one
number
spot.
one
He's in the number one
Yep.
spot, and that's a one-eyed horse who you can't see out of his right eye.
Can't
Yeah,
see
so
out
he
of his
can't
right
see
eye.
the
It's
field
So
when
he
he comes
can't
out of
see
the
the
gate.
field at all.
Yeah. He's relying
love
on his
this
jockey.
idea.
The storyline is just thick.
I love this idea.
It's going to be great. Oh my
Yes.
God! But yeah, that'll be quite a fun race to see.
It will. Then on that note, we are going to take a little bit of a break. But coming up after the break, we reached out to a special guest who knows a thing or two about Kentucky sports and who is returning to the toss-up. If you're a returning viewer, you will surely remember him. Plus, we'll have even more Derby discussion, so stick with us. Welcome back to the toss-up. Now remember that special guest I told you about before the break? Well, no Derby show would be complete without the analysis of IUSTV alum and current ESPN Louisville producer, Jack Grossman. Take it away, Jack.
Kentucky Derby 146 is going to be vastly different than any previous edition of the Run for the Roses, and that's for a bunch of reasons. Number one, the race is in the first Saturday of September instead of the traditional first Saturday in May. That's caused some horses to drop out due to injury throughout the summer. Bob Baffert's top two contenders dropped out, Nadal and Charlatan, to name a couple, and also caused horses in the field to mature a little bit more, so they're more physically ready to handle the Derby distance. Also of note, no fans of the Kentucky Derby. 160,000 screaming people will not be in attendance due to COVID-19, and it's also not going to be the first race of the Triple Crown. We already had the Belmont. That was in June, so a very different look with it being the middle jewel of the 2020 Triple Crown. And of course, there is, for the first time ever, a Kentucky Derby toss-up. When I first pitched the idea a couple years ago, I had absolutely zero expectation of this actually ever happening, and I am so over the moon and hyped and excited that this toss-up is, in fact, an episode and is a thing, and I'm happy to be a small part of it. Of course, let's get into the actual race really quickly. Tiz the Law is absolutely the best horse. He has 3 to 5 morning line odds favorites. That is the lowest odds on a morning line since Easygoer in 1989, who lost, by the way. Also going against Tiz the Law history-wise, that he drew post number 17, the only post position to never produce a Kentucky Derby winner out of the 20-horse field. So, a couple things going against him. However, he's still absolutely the best horse in this race with the 2 Baffert horses out, with a couple other contenders out. Art Collector, who was going to be the second choice, scratched on Tuesday. Honor AP is really the only horse who's 5-1 that I could see beating Tis the Law if it's a fair race, which means that, the pace doesn't break everything down or Tis the Law doesn't get bumped out of the starting gate or something. So Honor AP, if you're trying to beat Tiz and try to make some money on a win bet, would probably be your best bet. A couple of long shots. King Guillermo, who's owned by Victor Martinez, who's a former Major League Baseball All-Star, is a fun one. He's getting a lot of buzz, working out really well, but he's on a long layoff. 1,000 Words is another one. He beat Honor AP in the Shared Belief Stakes. But Tis the Law, absolutely the best horse in the field, and is my pick to win the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. Guys, stay safe. Hope to see everyone soon. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jack. It was great to have you back on the show, even if you can't be in the studio this semester. But now, for us here in the studio, it's game time. All right, everybody. This is our game. We're going over-under. Pretty simple rules here. I'm going to give you a number that, and basically a category. You got to pick whether you're taking the over or the under on it.
Okay, but in the spirit of Derby weekend, are we putting money on this? Would that be illegal? Probably.
I don't think
Probably
legally we're
for a
allowed
Is that
to.
over
production.
TV?
So,
Never mind.
so we're not going to legally bet anything currently, but I want to know your over under. I hate that look into the camera. You're going to get us in trouble. All right, the over under, we're going to start with the winning time. So the finishing time of the winning horse, we're going to put it at 2 minutes and 3 seconds. So the Derby is called the fastest 2 minutes, the greatest 2 minutes in sports, however you want to label it. But most of the time, it's around 2:02, 2:04. So Jackson, does the winning horse finish above or below 2:03?
I think it's going to be below because we mentioned it in the first half of the show. It's going to be really nice track conditions, dry track. They're not going to be slowed down by any rain or mud or whatever element you want to throw at them. And I just feel like it's the Derby, so they're going to want to go out and get it because it's been delayed. The anticipation is there for the jockeys, so maybe they'll push a little bit harder. And that combined with the nice track conditions, I think it's going to be under 2:03.
Jordan, what are you taking?
Yeah, if any horse can do it, it'll be. I think Tis the Law is the one. And with Tis the Law, he hasn't finished a race. Every race that he's completed and competed in, he's never been 3 horses back or more in any race. So he's always in the thick of things. Coming in the outside position, I really give him a good shot to come out of the gate strong and then finish strong as well. I think he'll get below the 2:03.
Yeah, as you said, optimal track conditions. But something I found interesting is I believe both Justify and American Pharoah, the last 2 Triple Crown winners, both finished around 2:04. So they would both hit the under or the over on this. But also the under was hit by like Nyquist, who we don't really talk about as much.
Well, you do say over under, but it could hit 2:03.
Could hit, if it hits 2:03.000, I will be thoroughly impressed.
You'll be receiving a call from me.
Push the bet.
All right, that is fair game. All right, so for our next over-under, Jackson, we're going to get into some betting terminology for you because apparently that means a lot to you currently. But I'm asking about the long shots. We've talked about them 30 or over, or 30 or 50, or somewhere in those odds. So, Jordan, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah.
The number I'm putting it at is 0.5, so basically 0 or 1 or more. That's what we're going with. Will one of those long shots show? We've got win, place, or show. Will either of them finish in the top 3 and show?
Yeah, as far as a long shot, you say what, 30 and 1 or greater?
Yeah, I'd say 30 or above.
Yeah. I don't know. Max Player, I'd give a decent shot to finish in the top 3, if you're going to say that. I would say he's been getting some traction. Money Moves, again, like I said earlier. The thing about Money Moves, he's a Todd Pletcher trained horse. Todd Pletcher, Bob Baffert, I'd say they're the biggest 2, I guess, horse gurus in the game. Everyone.
Horse gurus.
Yeah, I just came up with that on the fly.
I'll agree with
I don't know if that's not the term. Okay. But I was told, Todd Fletcher wouldn't send a horse to the Kentucky Derby if he didn't think he would have a good shot to at least compete and maybe win the whole thing. So I would say Money Moves is definitely up there for compete. So if you go over under 0.5, I would say, I'd probably say above.
You take the over, so at least one of those long shots finishes top 3.
See, yeah, for me, I also said over because it's just like I said, everything that can be weird has been weird this year. So why wouldn't there be 1 or 2 long shots in the top 3? Plus, we know how crazy these Derby finishes can be if a horse pulls away, like maybe Tis the Law pulls away, but then the pack behind him is always really close. And if a horse doesn't pull away, then it'll be even more exciting. Horses are always right there neck and neck. So I think really anybody can sneak their way up into the top 3. So I'm going to go over.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, as you mentioned, anything can happen. But something that hasn't been weird about this year is that Baffert and Pletcher both have horses in this race. And Jordan, you mentioned the 2 horse gurus, as we're going to call them.
Oh, God, I regret saying that.
No, I love it. But they always seem to have horses in there.
Yeah.
So now we're going win, place, show, or 4th place. Out of the top 4 of the Baffert and Pletcher horses, which there's 3 of them combined,
Yeah.
how many of those 3, the over-under I'm putting this at is 1.5?
I went under. I think the one that, in my mind, I think will be in the top 4 for sure is Authentic. But outside of that, I think, because I went over for the long shots, so I can't really go over for this, right? So I feel like the under works here, and I think Authentic will be the one in the top 4, but then the other horses in this conversation just be kind of outside.
Yeah, not to get too analytical, but you could have Tiz the Law win.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could have Authentic in 2nd. You could then have your long shot in 3rd, and then one other of the Baffert Pletcher horses in 4th. So it is possible.
Oh, it's more than possible, but
But
by my logic of going over on the long shots, and then I feel like I have to go under here, but I strongly believe it will be an under. So.
okay, Jordan, what do you have?
Yeah, so you look at the field of those horses. I don't know, Authentic, I just have this gut feeling that he's going to fade. I don't know why. There's 3 really good horses on the outside. I like Mike Smith on AP. I think he's got a really good shot to win on Saturday. You look at Tiz the Law, obviously, but I don't know. I'd say Money Moves, I'd give him a fair shot like I have. I've been high on him all show. And then, who is it? I'm forgetting. 1,000 Words? Yeah. 1,000 Words at 15-1 odds. Yeah, I would say he would compete somewhere in there. But I'm going to go under the 1.5 this time because Baffert's best horses aren't in it. Like Nadal, we were talking about earlier, and Charlatan, I believe, is the other horse who had a good shot, and they were both expected to compete in the Derby, are both out. And that's just kind of been the difference in having a race in May versus September. In May, it's earlier on the season, so there's less risk for a horse to get injured, as the season progresses, the racing season progresses. But the advantage to having a race in September like this is you're going to have horses, such as Money Moves, for instance, with only 3 races on their belt, get a shot that they might have not had in May. So this is kind of that weird kind of trickle of, I guess, mix of new and older horses. And I guess it's all about the endurance and staying healthy when you have a race like this in September.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to shift away from these over-under, move a little bit more into quickfire. Jackson, this was a direct request from you.
Yes.
So here we go. We're
So
breaking out the glasses.
I got to get out the glasses.
Yes.
So I wrote down the names of every horse running in. Oh, they're already fogging up. Wow. Running in the Oaks and the Derby. Now, what I want us to do is I want to go over these names.
How old are you? With the glasses down like that?
Listen, I'm going to go over the 9 Oaks names, the fillies.
Yes.
And then I'm going to go over the Derby names. We've gone over some of them, but not all of them. So with the Oaks, we're going to start with Swiss Skydiver.
Love it.
Okay, Tempers Rising, Donna Veloce, Speech, just Speech.
Yeah.
Gammon, Bayerness, She Dares the Devil, but it's all one word.
Okay.
Just one word.
Yeah.
Hopeful Growth, and Dream Marie. All right, now we're going to move to the Derby.
Okay.
All right, we've talked about Finnick the Fierce. Great
Yes.
name. You said that he reminds you of a Hunger Games character.
I
100% agree.
Yes. Best character in the novels.
Oh, strong.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's another toss-up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a Hunger Games toss-up. We'll get back to that.
And then Max Player, Enforceable, one near and dear to Kentucky basketball fans and Indiana basketball fans, Storm the Court. In the 5th spot, you have Major Fed, and then King Guillermo. He pulled out with a fever, so poor King Guillermo. Hope he's okay.
Yeah, he's been dethroned.
Yeah, Spilling Horse.
Gosh.
Oh, man.
This is a 1-2 punch.
Feeling Horse? Okay. There's Money Moves. We've talked about him. South Bend. Mr. Big News.
Oh, yeah.
1,000 Words. Necker Island. I don't know about that one. Sol Volante. Attachment Rate. Winning Impression. New York Traffic or NY Traffic. Honor AP. Tiz the Law. And Authentic. Now, do any of those stick out to either of you as a name you would see in the program and go, I'm going to bet on them just because of the name, because that's how I would do it as a child.
So we already mentioned Finnick, who we can have this conversation offset about that later. But one of my favorites based on the names is New York Traffic, because I want this to be the only time that New York Traffic is actually commended for its speed.
What
I
a
like
joke.
that one.
You're
What a
welcome.
joke.
That's
What about you,
fun.
Jordan? You got any names that stick out to you?
Well, you know, I think I would have bet on King Guillermo. I love the name. And then when I found out that Victor Martinez, it was his ownership, Victoria Ranch, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it's kind of upsetting that that didn't happen. But I like Swiss Skydiver. I was looking in the Oaks Field. I think that's a kind of a neat name. But
And I believe that's one of the favorites, too.
yeah, Honor AP. Interesting enough. So I think there's a horse named Code of Honor a couple years ago. You guys might have remember the name.
Yeah.
And there was another one with the AP, and that they basically just combined the name of the pedigree. If you look at the history of like the breeding, for that name, and that's how a lot of horse names come about. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, for the Oaks, I have to go with speech, just because the one word, it gets me. I don't know.
Gets to the point.
Yeah.
Speechless.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, we're going to move
That was
on.
a good
all right,
one.
I'm done. I
And then
promise.
for the Derby, I can't stop talking about him, but I like money moves. But Mr. Big News, that's a great name for a horse, I feel like.
Yeah, especially here in the media school.
Oh, yeah. See, like, you're Mr. Big News. You're the host, you know?
Oh.
So that should
alright.
be your nickname from now on.
We'll see if the horse wins first, but then we can work from there.
For anybody in the production room, if Mr. Big News wins next week,
Oh, no.
his title is going to be Mr. Big News. We're
Oh,
putting that out
no.
there right now. But anyway,
It's going to get risky.
yeah, how about we've done my name segment. This
Yeah.
is what I would do as a kid with my parents. I would pick a name, they would go put $10 on the horse for me, and, you know, I would hopefully leave with some money.
Yeah. Well, before I give too much power to you or anyone else in the control room, I'm going to take the show back and we're going to move on to our quick fire round. So this is about 20 seconds or less that I want your answers in. They tend to be a little more simple questions. You can have a little bit of time to explain, but we're going to wrap it up pretty quickly. So Jackson, we have to start off with the big one. Tis the Law. Does Tis the Law win the Triple Crown?
No. It's such a difficult feat. I'm always going to say no until I'm proved wrong. I said no to American Pharaoh, so, like, I don't know. I just don't see it.
But do you think Tis the Law is going to win the Derby?
No.
No.
No,
I
because-
can't wait to hear your pick then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I am yeah.
All right. Jordan, does Tis the Law
yeah.
win the Triple Crown?
So yeah, I think we've been a little spoiled because 2015 with American Pharaoh, 2018 with Justify, and then it didn't happen before that. It was 1978 with the Firm.
Right.
Tis the Law is a lot better than everyone in the field. Like he just is. So I say he wins the Derby, and I say yeah. I say he's gonna do it. I say he's gonna win the Preakness as well in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I remember they said the same thing about Justify. It's just that much better, and I didn't believe it until I saw it. And so now that Tis Law is coming around, I find it hard to believe that someone else is actually going to take him down.
I mean, yeah, he's won the races by like 4 lengths every time I've seen him.
Yeah.
It's just not close.
Not this time.
Not this time.
All right.
Not this
All right,
time.
so Jackson, you keep talking it up. I'm asking for your trifecta pick.
Okay.
So,
So I'm going win, place, show. All right.
yep, win, play, show. I want to hear what you got.
Show, Tis the Law.
Whoa, down to third
Yeah.
place.
Okay. Place, we've talked about him enough. I'm going to say Money Moves gets place. And then winner, one of the other favorites other than Tis the Law, I'm going to go Honor AP. He's going to take the crown.
Interesting picks. Bold picks from Jackson, but I like it.
My mouth is open through my mask right now. You can't see. But I am in shock of that.
It's also speechless.
Oh, man.
Also speechless,
I'm
yes.
going to turn around that joke on you someday.
All right, Jordan, who are your trifecta? Win, play, show.
Yeah, so show, I don't know. I'll start with win. It's just easier to go that way. Tis the Law. I think he's going to win. I've been pretty adamant on that. I would say place, or I'm sorry, place. I'm going to go, I like Honor AP. I think he's got a good shot. But no, you know what? I'm going to do Tis the Law, win. I'm going to go Money Moves to place, and I'm going to go Honor AP to show.
So you have the same top
So-
three.
We agree with second place. It's just first place we might have to fight over.
Yeah, you have the same top three, just in a different order.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'd say max player 4 there for bonus. I think
Okay.
he'll definitely be around there. He could definitely come into that because I mean he's just competed in every big race.
Yeah.
So it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
What about you? Let's hear it.
Oh my gosh. I didn't plan this far ahead, if I'm being honest. I know I do think Tiz the Law is going to. Yeah, I don't think Tiz the Law is going to have much of an issue.
News?
I don't think Mr. Big News is going far. Every time a horse has just been like assigned to me, it's finished like way down there. So I'm putting Mr. Big News like at last at this point, just because I feel that that's fitting. Let's see. I like the Money Moves pick. I think that one makes a lot of sense. Man, I don't know. I think one of the long shots comes in third. I'm going Finnick the Fierce.
I know.
Finnick
I
the
feel you
Fierce
were
is
thinking
finishing
that
third.
in there. Yeah.
Yes.
Your favorite horse.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Another news about anytime I pick a horse that I just love, it always finishes fourth. So realistically, Finnick the Fierce is probably going to finish fourth. But for the sake of this, I'm going to will Finnick into third place.
Well, you've cursed him now, so it doesn't matter what you.
That's also fair. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, if we're going on curses, then Mr. Big News is your new Derby winner. So,
Let's go.
all right, last question I'm going to wrap up. And Jackson, I'm going to start with you because I know Jordan has something in store later. But all three of us are Kentuckians on this panel. We all have a decent amount of experience with the Derby.
Mm-hmm.
So every year, Derby weekend comes around. I mean, Derby season even with Thunder over Louisville in the balloon race. What is just the best part about it when you're in Kentucky and you can just experience the Derby?
I think it comes down to a couple things. I have a lot of personal experiences with it. But if we're going just as a Kentuckian,
Yes.
I think when they're walking the horses to the posts, and this is going to make some people upset in the control room because we have a lot of Indy 500 huge fans, and when they sing Back Home Again in Indiana, special moment. Doesn't compare to My Old Kentucky Home when they sing it when the horse is going to the gates. Because everybody at the Derby party, they stop, they stand up, and they sing along with the song on the TV. And then when you're there, I mean, it brought a tear to my eye. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. The sing of My Old Kentucky Home is just the best thing ever.
No, I'll agree with you on that because when I first got to Indiana, and I'm not a huge like racing fan anyways with Indy cars. So I never really experienced Back Home Again in Indiana in that fashion. So the first time it was played for me, I just remember thinking like, okay, it's no My Old Kentucky Home. Again, I'm going to get hate mail after this. But I agree. It's just, that's an absolute beautiful song. And it makes me like so, proud to just like be a part of that experience.
Yeah, when you hear the bugle especially, it's just when they call them to the post, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I would try the sound effect, but I know it's going to end poorly.
Yeah, I'm not going to try either.
Right.
Through the mask? No,
exactly. All right, Jordan. So I want to hear yours. What is just the best part about being in Kentucky and experiencing the Derby?
So a couple years back, one of the I guess rarest thing. I guess it's not that rare, but it doesn't happen too often. It's kind of like a blue moon or something like that. So Cinco de Mayo, and so the Derby is always run, for those who don't know, on the first Saturday of May. Cinco de Mayo obviously is May 5th. So what happened a couple years ago? They merged for one giant holiday. And I have a shirt here. Thank you, Moose. Great toss. This is the toss-up. Here it is. Derby de Mayo. See the little sombrero there? Where is it? There it is.
Yeah.
But this is a great shirt. You can wear this while you're running as well. It's super bright. And, yeah, it's great. Honestly, only Kentucky. Just Kentucky things. It's great. So, yeah, no, I love the Derby. Love the fashion, the hats, it all. But I think I love winning the money the most, honestly, when you cash in.
Wow.
So
Winning the money.
it's satisfying.
I mean,
Money
yeah.
moves.
I thought we were going to end on Derby de Mayo, but we end on just like, and money's nice too.
Well, okay, I will say, I miss on every race on Derby Day except the Derby. I usually hit that.
I think my best Derby Day money-wise, I was like 12 years old and I walked away with like $124.
Felt good, didn't it?
It did feel
There's no
good.
better feeling.
Yeah, it was great.
There you go. Well, I think that does it for our show this week. So thank you all for watching, and be sure to continue the discussion on our Twitter page at IUSTV Sports and on Facebook, also at IUSTV Sports. And if any of you are offended by what we said about My Old Kentucky Home, please don't send hate mail. Anyways, you can always give any suggestions for the show and ask any questions that you might have. So toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next time.